So do you ever wonder how websites are able to position planes on a map, understand where the planes are going from, what tail numbers they are? I mean, obviously the FAA is not going to share this information with the general public. There's got to be a way that websites out there are getting that information. Today, we're going to find out exactly how that happens with Eric Carlson from FlightAware.com. So stick around.
Welcome to The Scanner School, a podcast dedicated to the scanner radio hobby. Class is about to begin. Here is your host, Phil Lichtenberger.
So welcome to Scanner School. My name is Phil Lichtenberger. I can't believe this is already the 24th session of the Scanner School podcast. So today we're talking about something a little bit different. We're talking about ADSB. Now, ADSB is basically positioning that airplanes transmit while they're flying or while they're on the ground and they get ready to take off. So if you need a refresher of how aviation monitoring works and whatnot, I invite you to take a quick listen to last week's podcast. We talked from Dave Pasco from liveatc.net. Dave did a really great job at explaining, because he's a pilot, he understands the format and the flow of how aviation transmissions are. So if you go back to scannerschool.com/session 23, you can listen to Dave Pasco from liveatc.net talk about aviation monitoring. Well, we're going to spin it a little bit. We're not really talking about monitoring, something you can do with your ears, but something you can do with your eyes instead today. ADSB positioning, it's a protocol, and it's basically just a little blip, because if you were going to listen to it, but your computer has the ability to decode that information, show it to you real time on a screen, and then using the information that you're receiving, it can feed a huge network of other websites and other receivers, bring the data and the information together, and then you have which is a virtual radar. So instead of relying on the government to give you the information, which we know they're not going to, you can set up your own basic virtual radar and watch what planes are going overhead, and you can find their flight paths, and you can look at the tail numbers and see pictures and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you can overlay radar images of the weather, and you can watch planes, change their flight patterns and whatnot to go around a storm or hold in a holding pattern. And what's really neat about it too is if the units or the planes have their transponders on, then you can receive it basically. Here in the States, there's two different types of frequencies that you're going to look at. The basic popular one is on 1090 megahertz, so it's 1090 megahertz. That's where the ADSB is. There's also another one at 978 megahertz. There is some ways of receiving the information, but majority of the people spend their time looking at the ADSB protocol. So what can you do with an ADSB receiver? Well, not only can you monitor the planes that are directly overhead, but if you have a really good setup, you can get about 250 miles away from you. So, before you can see the plane and hear overhead, then you can see on your radar. Sometimes you'll catch a military aircraft flying overhead, and you'll see them positioning, although not all the time. When the Blue Angels were in here last week or 2 weeks ago for their air show, I wasn't able to see the Blue Angels at all. Although, however, I did see them leave the closest airport for me when they were leaving here to go to Maryland, which was their next stop on their tour. So I saw them leaving, and then they shut off their transponder, and of course they go invisible. And that's the beauty of this. If they're transmitting, you can see them on your own local setup. If you go to another website like Flight Radar 24 or even FlightAware, they may filter out some airplanes. There's other sites out there that do not do that. It's a strongly only community-based type of site. Whereas if you feed them information, then they open a door for you to see what other people are feeding them as well. So there's really an interesting community when it comes to ADSB receiving. So here's the deal. I picked up a kit, and we talk about it in the interview. And when I did the interview with Eric, I said I didn't have the kit yet. Well, I have the kit now. I put one together. The actual receiver that I bought was the Better FlightAware receiver. And again, we'll have some show notes for this at scannerschool.com/session 24. And we'll also make an even easier link. We'll just call it scannerschool.com/ADSB or Alpha Delta Sierra Bravo. And we'll put a shopping list there and a little bit of a review thing. I'll get some videos. I don't have them made up now, but hopefully in the future I'll do it. And I'm also going to do a Facebook Live session where I will put a kit together from scratch, and I'll show you how quick it is to do. I think it took me less than 30 minutes from the time I had it unboxed, and I had it hooked up to the antenna on the air and sending information to PiAware. So it was less than 30 minutes to get going. So again, the kit was like, the Raspberry Pi was about $35. The actual receiver dongle was about $18, and I used my existing scanner antenna. Again, I also purchased the PiAware antenna, which I'll be putting that up eventually sometime this summer, but I don't want to discuss that yet because I don't really know how well it's going to work compared to my current antenna, which I am not in love with, my Austin Ferret, for anybody who wants to know. Yeah, not a big fan of the Austin Ferret. Hey, if you like your Austin Ferret, let me know, drop me a line. Maybe we can compare notes here, but I'm itching to go back to a disc cone antenna. So with that said, I'm going to have a shopping list set up for you that if you want to get involved with an ADSB network, you can do so at a very, very reasonable cost. Again, we'll be doing this live on Facebook. But again, one very important thing too, if you don't want to shell out any money, Eric was nice enough to offer a few giveaways to our listeners, which is outstanding. Eric is our very first guest to offer a giveaway to people. So it's after the interview, I will let you know how you can qualify for our very first giveaway. Now, again, if anybody else is wondering too, can you use an off-the-shelf dongle? Yes, you can also use your off-the-shelf SDR dongle, but PiAware has made it very, very simple. Eric's going to talk about it a little bit detailed, but let me just say, all you have to do is go to their website, you download the image, you burn it to your SD card, you put the micro SD card in your Raspberry Pi, you turn it on, you wait 5 minutes, you're on the air. All right, guys, that's enough of me for now. I'm going to see you on the other side of the interview. Again, we have Eric Carlson from FlightAware.com, and he's going to talk about their product, PiAware. Okay, welcome, Eric. Thank you for joining us on the Scanner School podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Okay, so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I work for FlightAware, and many of our listeners may have heard of us, maybe not. We'll hopefully enlighten them as to what we do and how they can get involved with what we're doing. My background is as a software developer professionally, and I've been in management for many years. And actually, scanner hobby is very near dear to my heart. I've been in that hobby for well over 20 years, and more recently doing ADSB. At first, personally as a hobby, and very, very fortunate for the last 2 years or so to be doing it professionally as a part of the FlightAware team.
Excellent. So what exactly is the FlightAware?
So FlightAware is a flight tracking service, or that's what we've been historically, right? And most people know us through our website or our mobile app. You can go online and check the status of flights, get flight alerts, find out about delays. People like to know, if their flights are delayed or canceled as soon as possible for obvious reasons. And so we're really good at giving people quick alerts, and sometimes, in many cases, faster than airlines and other services are able to provide that. So people really like that. People also just like, being able to see where planes are, track them. We have a lot of aviation enthusiasts, if you will, that hang out on our site and like to keep tabs on what's going on in the industry. We service, the whole general public around the world, for people who just want to know where that flight is, what's going on with that flight. Some people are curious just about routes, like what routes are things taking because of winds, there's lots of different questions that you can answer if you're really curious by exploring different flights on our site.
Excellent. So you said you have a community there, so you have a forum presence as well?
Yeah, so we also have some community features on the site. So we have a discussion forum. We have what we call Squawks, which is just a way to post news articles. So people that are, just sharing information about what's going on in the aviation-related world. So there's some community elements like that you can do. And of course, the ADSB community is kind of its own community as well, in terms of the ability to share information about your site, your ADSB receiver site, and how it's performing. And of course, we have a discussion forum specifically dedicated to that as well.
Excellent. So you've mentioned ADSB a couple of times. What exactly is ADSB?
So technically, it stands for Automatic Dependent Surveillance Broadcast. And that is a term I think we probably thank the government for coming up with. It sounds really fancy. What it is technically is an extension of a protocol called Mode S. Mode S is a transponder technology that is in aircraft. Certainly in all commercial aircraft around the world, and many other aircraft have it as well. And what it does is it broadcasts information in response to interrogation by ground radar that provides additional information about the status of that aircraft. So, for example, it's going to tell us things like what altitude it's at, and in the case of ADSB, it's going to tell us cool information like its latitude and longitude positional information, and there's some other metadata as well that can be captured.
Excellent. So I guess that ADSB is how you are getting the information into FlightAware?
Yeah, so it was FlightAware collects and aggregates and synthesizes a wide variety of data sources to produce what you see on the website. The cool thing about ADSB and our ADSB network that we have and support, which is really largely community driven, is that we're able to enable free flight tracking on the website. It's really an enabler for free real-time flight tracking because we're not, under any sort of restricted covenants contractually or anything to, embargo that data or things like that. So we can integrate that into our website with, say, data from the FAA, and we can fuse that together and show you potentially even a more up-to-date picture than what even the FAA really makes available to us as a data feed. So that's pretty cool.
Excellent. So you can basically, you said before, you get latitude, longitude, speed, direction, heading, that kind of stuff from the aircraft.
Right.
What type of aircrafts broadcast ADSB, or what can an end user see either via your website or with their own type of equipment?
So as I mentioned, most commercial aircraft have it or will have to have it soon. In the United States, there's a mandate by January 1st, 2020 that all commercial aircraft, or well, not even just all commercial, all aircraft that operate within most urban, if you will, airspace within the U.S. will have to have it. Again, that's a real simplification. If you're really curious about the rules, it's very complicated. We probably have a whole podcast just on what does ADSB mean and where does it apply and what are the rules. If you're really curious, you can go online and Google about that and see some charts and diagrams from the FAA that kind of explain where you need ADSB and where you don't. But generally speaking, most aircraft are going to have some form of ADSB by January 1, 2020. And there's already mandates in effect in Europe and Australia and other places and other parts of airspace and other places that require this technology. And we're only expecting that to continue to expand. So as those rules from the government get put in place, more and more aircraft are equipping with the technology, which means we can track more and more aircraft that way.
Excellent. So I guess when you're saying all aircraft, that means even military and all that stuff too? Or is that a gray area?
Well, it's actually interesting. So the military is, to the extent the military uses the FAA's controlled airspace, for example, in the United States, they are technically required to comply with the same mandates as everyone else. The Air Force, for example, has just recently announced that they're spending, I think hundreds of millions of dollars to equip their fleets appropriately so that they can be in compliance. It's widely acknowledged that they probably won't really be fully compliant by January 1, 2020, and they're working out some sort of arrangements with the FAA to still be able to use their airspace. And I'm sure they'll figure that out because it's the government. They'll find a way to make that happen. But in terms of military aircraft, there are aircraft out there that have ADSB. Not a lot, I would say. It really is going to depend. We may also see that military aircraft may selectively turn that on and off based on whether they need to for the airspace that they're in. I don't really know how that's going to work. Generally speaking, we don't do a lot of military aircraft tracking on FlightAware. That's not really our focus. However, as an individual with your own ADSB receiver, you get all the data. And so specifically with respect to ADSB, you get 100% of the data. And even if it's something that is not available for tracking on FlightAware.com, you can see it on your own device if it's in range of your receiver. So that's pretty cool. And one other thing we didn't mention is general aviation. So general aviation aircraft, meaning like private jets and small prop planes and things like that, are also subject to the ADSB mandate to the extent they operate in that airspace. And you can track those as well.
Excellent. So I guess that's one of the benefits of having your own personal setup separate from a commercial service or a web-based service like yours, is that you can, if it's overhead, then you can see what's going on your computer screen.
Yeah, that's really the cool thing about having your own ADSB receiver. It's literally as real time as you can get. Anything that is, generally speaking, within some radius of your receiver site location. You can, or if said another way, anything that's literally over your head right now, you can see that on the receiver. Again, it has to be an ADSB aircraft, or it has to be an older Mode S aircraft that is not ADSB equipped. we have a technology that, and again, a service we provide back to our data feeders for free, which is called Multilateration. What that basically means is that we calculate and derive a position for aircraft based on the receipt of the signal at multiple sites at the same time. And that's cool. That's a cool, just to mention as a free benefit of feeding to the FlightAware network as a data feeder is that you get this. It's one of the free benefits you get, right? So you get not just ADSB aircraft you're already receiving, but we actually send back to you multilateration results. So basically, there's this math we do to figure out and derive these positions, and we send those back to you as well, so you can see even more aircraft on your receiver. And while I'm on that topic, there are aircraft that you can't see on your receiver. Those are going to be aircraft that are not yet even on a Mode S transponder. They're maybe on an older transponder called for example, Mode C transponder. Many of those, again, will have to upgrade to be compliant with the ADSB mandate. But they may still be flying around today, and you may see an aircraft in the sky over your house, and you're like, why isn't it on my receiver? Well, it may not actually have ADSB yet.
Excellent. So we talked about the benefits really of having a receiver and what you can do with it. So I think the big question is now, if people are interested in it, how difficult is it to set up your own ADSB receiver?
So the cool thing about what FlightAware's done is we've made it as simple as possible to do. What we've done is we've focused on the Raspberry Pi platform. So if you're not familiar with that, Raspberry Pi is a very inexpensive, basically miniature computer that runs a variant of the Linux operating system on it, and you can set it in the corner of your house and forget it, and it's just always there running. And what we've done at FlightAware is we provide what we call an SD card image of all the software you need. So there's literally, in a sense, nothing to install or configure. You just image or copy a single file that we provide onto the SD card. You put the SD card in the Raspberry Pi, you plug everything together, turn it on, and basically it just starts working. So we've really tried hard to make it really super simple and easy for people to get involved if they want to. Now, if you're an advanced user, you're like a Linux guru, you want to customize everything, we also got that option too. You can manually install all the components. PiAware, which is the package we have available to our community, is free open source. So if you want to tinker and play with it, you can totally do that too.
Excellent. Yeah, I have a couple of Raspberry Pis here. I love them. I mean, they're the size of a deck of cards. They work off a USB 5-volt adapter, and I think the new ones now, right? The Raspberry Pi 3s have Wi-Fi in them, and
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so they're even more user friendly at this point. And you were saying too, if anyone's more has a higher skill level, can they do this on their own, like Linux desktop computer or Windows-based computer, or do you really recommend doing the Raspberry Pi?
So FlightAware focuses on the Raspberry Pi platform because it's really self-contained, easy to set up, and easy to sort of set it and forget it. You can technically install the packages on other variants of Linux, but that's sort of not supported by FlightAware officially. You need to be, again, a more sophisticated user, and you may need to do some customization to make that happen. But there are people that do it, and if you're interested in that, definitely check out our discussion forums at FlightAware.com because that's where a lot of people hang out that are doing that sort of thing. For Windows, there is other software that you can run on Windows. If you want to feed to FlightAware, we actually have a partnership with the software called Plane Plotter. So if you have a Plane Plotter installed on your Windows PC, you can feed us ADSB data via that as well, and you get the benefits of being a FlightAware feeder as well. If you're a Plane Plotter feeder or a PiAware feeder.
Excellent. I like the Pi too because one thing we didn't touch on, well, you kind of said earlier, is you can put it in the corner and set it, forget it. So it's a headless unit basically, which means there's no monitor, there's no keyboard, there's no mouse. So you really could mount this in an attic space or underneath the desk, and it would really be completely out of the way. No fans, no nothing to make noise. So if anybody's interested in putting one of these together, it really is a very low power, low footprint, and it's almost invisible once you set it somewhere. So it's really, really nice. So what is somebody looking at besides the Raspberry Pi, which I think is about like $35 US? How much would somebody have to invest to get started in setting one of these up?
So generally speaking, you can get started for way less than $100, and then it just kind of depends on how sophisticated you want to get. We have people that really love to tinker with this stuff, and they're always trying to get more performance and more range and more messages received out of their setup, and that's great. You don't have to do that, but you can. We certainly have, again, a community of people that are really passionate about that sort of thing. But you can, again, very inexpensively do it. Generally speaking, we say, $100 or less, you can get a good setup. One of the key things, though, with making it work really well is having a decent antenna and having it mounted outdoors with a clear line of sight to the sky in all directions, to the horizon as well, and without any obstructions. So obstructions are going to be things like other buildings, trees, mountains, that sort of stuff. The ADSB signal is very weak and can be transmitted over hundreds of miles. You can still receive it successfully, but again, it's very sensitive to line of sight obstructions. So that's one of the things that makes it a little bit trickier to get a really good sight. Is just making sure that you've got it outside. And a lot of people, that's a challenge. If they're setting up their house, maybe they don't have an easy way to mount it on the roof, for example. You can put it in a window, for example, put the antenna in a window. That'll work okay. You're going to have some obstruction, obviously, in the opposite direction the window is facing. But in fact, I have one in a window at my house. It works okay for my purposes, but it's obviously not as finely tuned and has as long of a range as of reception that you could have.
We talked about the Raspberry Pi, and obviously you need an antenna, but what other piece of hardware would you need? What's the actual radio interface that's required for the last piece of the puzzle here?
Yeah, so let me just run through the shopping list real quick if you want. And if you're curious about this, please go to FlightAware.com, and we have what we call our PiAware build page, which has all the information you need in detail: shopping lists, links to suppliers, instructions, software, everything you need in one place. So the basic things you need, again, of course, the Raspberry Pi. You're going to need a power supply for the Raspberry Pi that's usually sold separately. You're going to need a micro SD card. So we talked about the SD card earlier. If you don't already have a computer with a micro SD card reader, you're going to need perhaps a USB one so that you can plug it into your computer and get the software onto the SD card. And then you're going to need the key piece, which is an SDR, or software-defined radio USB dongle. There are tons of them out there. There's one that's very popular called the New Elec one that's been around for a long time and kind of started it all. And we actually make our own. We call the ProStick and a version called the ProStick Plus. And those are optimized basically to work really well with ADSB. So people that use that tend to get way better performance. So we recommend it. Again, you don't have to use our stick. You can use other sticks. And then, of course, the antenna and a cable to connect the antenna to the SDR stick. That's really the shopping list, if you will, of things that you need. And again, so you have a lot of options with the USB receiver itself, the SDR receiver. You also have a lot of options with the antenna. We sell an inexpensive antenna designed specifically for 1090 megahertz, which is the ADSB signal frequency. There are other manufacturers of antennas. You can make your own. A lot of people that are tinkerers, they love to play around and make their own different types of antennas. Again, if you're interested in that, I again encourage you to check out our discussion forums, because we have lots of people that hang out there and are working on different ideas and trying different things out. There are different things called like the can antenna, for example, where you can kind of make out of a soda can, even you can make an antenna that works pretty well. So a lot of options if you're curious and like to play with building your own stuff.
Excellent. So what would be the difference between the ProStick and the ProStick Plus?
So that's a great question. So the ProStick is what we originally came out with. The main innovation with the ProStick is that it has an onboard low noise amplifier built into the stick. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the signals tend to be very weak, generally speaking, and so the amplifier really helps the receiver pick up those distant signals. Generally speaking, I mean, we see people reporting 20 to 100% more messages received per second when they switch from a generic dongle to a ProStick. So it's pretty dramatic, the type of performance that you can get out of that. Now, the caveat there is that you may need to play with the gain setting on the SDR stick to optimize that for your location, because there's so much gain potentially coming in, particularly if you're in an urban area with a high noise floor. If your audience may be familiar with that concept. So there's a lot of tinkering and playing with it to optimize it that may be necessary. The ProStick Plus builds on the ProStick by adding an onboard 1090 megahertz bandpass filter, and that, as your audience may also be familiar with, bandpass filter helps again filter out that noise, lower that noise floor to make it easier for you to pick up those signals. And so, particularly in urban areas where there tends to be more radio frequency noise, the ProStick Plus tends to be a lot more popular.
Right, and that would be the one that I would recommend going with anyway. I mean, we're talking like 1090 megahertz, right? And that's kind of sitting right around the cellular band as well. So if you're close to a cell site or like that, then paying for the small upgrade fee to go for the Pro Stick Plus is well worth the investment, especially seeing how much better that the reviews are on that unit and how much people are actually picking up on it by going with the upgrade on that one. So that would be something I would recommend going with. So again, if you want to upgrade into it, you said you talked about you guys have your own antenna. Obviously, you would upgrade into the Pro Stick Plus. I've also seen online there's extra filters you can buy. Is that something you would recommend, or when you get the Pro Stick Plus, does that basically eliminate the need to have that extra filter?
Not necessarily. So the Pro Stick Plus is designed with the filter after the amplifier. So in fact, in many cases, and for example, I'm a good case for this. In my very urban location in which I live in, at home, I actually have the external filter on the stick and the Pro Stick Plus, and that's really what provides the best performance for my particular location. Now, that's probably not typical. I live basically in downtown Houston, and there's tons of radio transmitters hovering over my head, if you will. But the trick is that it's so location dependent, the noise floor and the RF environment that you're in. And so everyone always wants to know, like, well, what's the best combination? And really, there is no right answer. It really is going to be location dependent. We really encourage people to experiment, particularly if you have the budget to buy a few different parts and play with it. Looking at different combinations with the external filter, without, Pro Stick Plus, different antennas as well, because the gain on the antenna can make a difference as well. So again, it's a really cool hobby if you're interested in experimenting and playing with stuff and finding out what works. And one of the things I haven't mentioned is we provide a lot of ADSB statistics on our website. If you link, or what we call claim your receiver on FlightAware.com, you actually get a detailed statistics page, so you can see how many messages I'm getting, how many aircraft I'm actually receiving, and track that over time. And so you could set up one configuration one day, see what the stats look like. Next day, switch to another configuration, and kind of compare. So that's a cool capability that we give you. A lot of people like to play the game of, like, how can I improve my stats? And so that's one sort of niche that people have, and it's a cool thing that we provide for free to data feeders on FlightAware.com.
That's excellent. So so now you can really see if the change you made really is something that improved it or messed up with what you were running with already. And if something fails too, I mean, that's nice to know too, that you're not sending out the information you thought you were sending out, or that you can really confirm that something didn't go well on your install. So that's right. A really nice feedback feature you have there. So if somebody goes online and they order the Pi and the antennas and the dongles or the USB radios, how long does it take to get it from unboxed to being on the air?
It's super simple. So if you're using the SD card image like we recommend and provide, there's no reason why you couldn't have it running in less than an hour. It's really, again, just a matter of loading that software on the SD card and then plug everything together. So, it really could be a matter of minutes once you have all the parts. Getting the parts is probably the harder part, because depending on what you want, you may have to go to a few different suppliers to get them. Again, just depending on which pieces you want to pull together.
You talked about the suppliers. Where would you recommend that somebody go and purchase the equipment?
So kind of depends on where you are in the world. If you're in the U.S., for example, we retail the parts, the specialized parts that we actually make at FlightAware. We sell them direct retail on Amazon.com. So if you're, and also as well in Amazon Canada. So that's the sort of easiest way to get it. If you're in the U.S. or Canada, you can buy direct from us. We sell the parts at cost, by the way. So we're not really in the hardware business. We're a software company, but these hardware parts that we sell are obviously really specialized, and we make them available to the community at cost as a way to promote this as an activity and a hobby. And obviously, we hope that you contribute to FlightAware as well as a data feeder. Internationally, we have quite a number and growing number of retail partners that sell our parts. So, for example, in the UK and Germany and China, Australia, etc. There are retailers in those countries, and you can check the ProStick webpage at FlightAware.com. We list and have direct links to all those retailers that are selling our parts overseas. Now they may have their own markups on those parts. We don't control that, but they do get them from us, again at cost. So there's a lot of options for those, specifically the FlightAware manufactured parts I'm talking about. And so just to be specific, the parts we're talking about are the Pro Stick Plus, our external filter, bandpass filter, and the 1090 megahertz antenna. Those are what FlightAware actually makes. We don't, for example, make or sell Raspberry Pis. That's totally not our business. You're going to have to buy that from someone else. We do have partners, though, just to mention that sell complete kits. So if you're like, I really don't even want to go through the hassle of buying all this stuff, I want a single point of purchase, great. There are a number of retailers, for example, on eBay and Amazon and probably some other places where they'll actually sell you the whole kit. Everything that we talked about on this podcast in one purchase. Now you may pay a premium for that convenience, but that's out there if you want that convenience. And again, they may have different combinations of parts depending on what you're looking for.
Excellent. And since you are selling on Amazon, I'll say here too that if anybody wants to help support not only FlightAware but also Scanner School, and you want to make the purchase through Amazon, either through Amazon US or Amazon Canada, you can go to the show notes for this podcast, or you can go to scannerschool.com/FlightAware, and we'll have links to where you can purchase the parts on Amazon. So it's a great way not only to help the Scanner School podcast, but also help support FlightAware too when you purchase the hardware. And also we'll add links into some of those kits as well. So if you do want to get any of the pre-manufactured kits that are done by the third parties, then that'd be in there as well. And again, those third-party kits are nice too. I was looking at a couple of them where they come with the coax run. I think I saw a couple of them that had was it power over Ethernet, so you didn't have to run the 5 volts to it. So there's some pretty heavy-duty kits out there too. Even some I think I saw that had lightning arresters in there as well. So I think they've pretty much taken your idea and added everything into it, including the kitchen sink. So
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yep, I guess it's another hobby within the hobby, which is really great. So besides getting, I guess, feeding the information to you and getting the stats back real time, and having you guys also fill in some of the blanks with some of the other protocols, what are really the benefits of partnering up with you, having somebody take their ADSB setup and sending you the information?
Yeah, great question. So there's several benefits. Obviously, we touched on some of them already, but I'll just try to recap real quick and mention some additional ones that we haven't talked about yet. So the number one benefit we like to talk about is as a data feeder to FlightAware, you get a free enterprise account on our site. So basically, you can go on FlightAware.com and look and see what all the detailed benefits are of that account. I mean, as in a nutshell, some of the key benefits are you can access up to 8 months of historical flight data. You get unlimited flight alerts that you can set up for different aircraft. You also get registration numbers for call sign flights. A lot of different stuff. Just depends on what you're interested in. This is basically the type of account that we sell to business type aviation users for $90 a month, and you get it for free as a data feeder. You just have to feed us data and then claim your account, claim your device on our site, and your account gets automatically upgraded as long as you're feeding us data. So that's pretty cool. Another benefit, specifically if you're a PiAware user, is that you get this cool interface called SkyView, which is a local map interface that's running directly on the Raspberry Pi. And it shows you the real-time visualization of all the data that you're getting. And this is kind of the cool payoff that most people really like to see. It's that as real-time as you can get, latest and greatest flight information, everything that you're receiving at your site right now, including those multilateration or MLAT results that we send back to you for free, which again, another benefit. I also mentioned previously the stats page, so you get again the detailed stats that you can review on your website once you claim the site, on our website once you claim the site. And then another benefit that some people are interested in is we have a feature on FlightAware.com called the track log. So if you're tracking a specific flight, you can actually click into what's called the track log, and it'll show you where all the position data came from for that flight. And as a data feeder, we sort of give you credit, so you can actually see if you contributed to a specific point on or position for a flight on FlightAware.com. We're going to show you which position that was and your username and a link to your site. So again, just depends on what you're interested in. We try to provide a kind of a wide range of benefits, but those are kind of the key things that we have out there that a lot of people like and enjoy.
Excellent. So it sounds like basically for the cost of the hardware, it's like 1 month of the professional service, the enterprise service, and everything else after that is really well worth the investment on the hardware at that point, because it really washes out at the first month. So I think that's a great price point, and it really makes it makes justifying putting the money out for the equipment, especially if this is something that you enjoy doing. It really makes it a real easy decision to make, that the benefit is immediately there for you. So I think you guys did really well with that. So do you have any other things you want to bring up before we wrap up today?
No, I don't think so. Again, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to your audience. Again, there's tons of information on FlightAware.com, so please go and check that out. Also wanted to just mention that we have some social media accounts that you can follow for additional information. These are separate from the main FlightAware social media accounts. They're specifically for the ADSB flight tracking community and people such as your audience that are really interested in the specific topic. And it's really easy. It's just FlightAware ADSB, all one word. That's our handle. And we're on Facebook and we're on Twitter, so you can follow us there for additional information if you're interested.
Excellent. We'll link to that too in the show notes as well. I mean, personally, I've looked at these ADSB receivers in your website for a while now, and never really went out and purchased the equipment. But I'm telling you right now, after this interview, I'm going logging on Amazon. I'm going to place an order and pick up all the parts that I need to get one set up. And also, what I'll do is I've been doing a Facebook Live session, so what I plan on doing is putting the kit together real time. And showing people how it's done and how easy it will be. So again, we'll after the interview and post edit, I'll add in the dates that we'll be doing that. So if anybody's interested in seeing exactly how one of these is set up, you can join us online and we'll go through the process step by step as well.
Great, sounds good. Looking forward to seeing that.
Okay, and then anything else you want to bring up?
Yeah, so I'm happy to offer to the Scanner School audience a free giveaway of some Pro Sticks and Pro Stick Pluses. So I think what we're going to do is have you leave your comments on the Scanner School website about this podcast, and then we'll just pick some lucky winners from the list of commenters, and we'll be sending out some free equipment courtesy of FlightAware to the Scanner School audience. We're happy to support this and happy to talk today to your audience about what we're doing, and hopefully they're interested and want to participate.
Excellent. And then the window for the contest will be announced in a couple minutes once we go through post edit
Okay.
and know the exact date that we'll launch this. So Eric, I want to thank you very much for taking the time today explaining what ADSB is and the benefits of having your own receiver and the benefits of sending it to your product, which is FlightAware. And again, I hope that you got a couple more people out there that are sending you data.
Great. Awesome.
All right. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right. I want to thank Eric Carlson from FlightAware for that wonderful interview and letting us know exactly what ADSB is and how to put a station on the air and some of the benefits too of having your own ADSB receiver and sending it to a website like FlightAware. Now again, you're not stuck to just giving it to FlightAware if you use their hardware. You can also send your data elsewhere, and other websites have information on how to patch in the PiAware software and configuration to send to them as well. So it's almost like the PiAware software or platform has kind of become the very basic building block to get a lot of people on the air and then have other websites kind of pigtail off of the hard work of what PiAware has been doing or FlightAware has been doing. So here's the deal. I know you guys have been waiting for this. How do you qualify for the free giveaway from FlightAware.com? Here's what you got to do. This podcast goes live June 5th, 2018. There will be a 2-week window where you go to scannerschool.com/session24. Leave a comment on this podcast. Let us know what you liked about it. Let us know if you have any questions. A little bit of feedback would be great. Eric will pick a couple of winners and we'll send them some hardware. You've got 2 weeks. The contest window closes, or the giveaway window closes on June 19th, 2018. All right, so from June 5th, 2018 to June 19th, 2018 is the window. After that, Eric will go on and he will pick a couple of winners. Again, scannerschool.com/session24 is where you will go. Leave a comment and we will pick a winner from those who left a comment. So again, if you're in the market now, if you want to start building an ADSB receiver, go to scannerschool.com/session24, or even easier, scannerschool.com/ADSB, or Alpha Delta Sierra Bravo. We will have a list of required items and a list of optional items. Eventually, I'll get some videos posted on how I set mine up. So again, it took me less than 30 minutes to put mine on the air. From the time that I unboxed it, burnt the image to the SD card, walked over to my other desk, put in the SMA cable into my Stridesburg multi-coupler. I was on the air in less than 30 minutes, registered, receiving packets, and really enjoying a new part of this hobby. So again, the links on scannerschool.com/session24 or scannerschool.com/ADSB. They will be affiliate links to Amazon. It's a really great way to help support the Scanner School podcast. By going there and making a purchase, we will earn a very small affiliate fee. It comes at no additional cost to you. Now, again, if you want to help support the Scanner School podcast in any other way, go to scannerschool.com/support. And again, we also have Patreon. Patreon is a great way where you make monthly pledges to the Scanner School podcast. And again, we want to thank, so far, our one and only Patreon supporter, Mark Beebe. Thank you very much, Mark, for being a continued supporter of the Scanner School podcast. So again, we have had a couple of weeks here. We've had some interviews and some guests on the Scanner School podcast. If there's anything or any part of the scanner hobby that you really enjoy, that you want to share with somebody, maybe you know a lot about railroad monitoring, maybe you know a lot about military air, maybe you know a lot about marine broadcasts, listen to the U.S. Coast Guard, maybe you're into utility listening or shortwave receiving or that kind of stuff, drop me a line, let me know. I'd love to have you on as a guest. Share your stories, let other people know what it is that you enjoy about the Scanner School podcast. My door is always open. Drop me a line. My email address is phil@scannerschool.com. You can always reach me on Twitter, scannerschool.com/Twitter, or on Facebook, scannerschool.com/Facebook. So again, I want to thank you for listening to the Scanner School podcast, where we teach you everything that you need to know about the scanner radio hobby. Again, all show notes are available online at scannerschool.com/session24. We'll catch you all next week. Thanks again.
Thanks for listening to the Scanner School podcast. Be sure to visit www.scannerschool.com to access the show notes and bonus content.